when she came out that morning to get into the car to drive off for work, they beat her so badly she was unrecognizable, and then took a hanger and strangled her to death. And she died there in the garage. And then they proceeded to go inside of the house, took her body in the house, and hid her body.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, a free safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Rennebaum, suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. Thank you so much for tuning in. Got another great episode for you this week. This week I'm speaking with Karydi, I believe is how you say that. And she grew up in a fairly tumultuous kind of situation. Her family moved around and she's lived in quite a few different countries. At one point, her mother was murdered, and Alex ended up homeless. And today she's living in the States with all types of schooling and degrees and certificates. So she's going to talk about all her traumas and how she's overcome them and how she's still working with her mental health and also helping others, because she's also a therapist and a counselor now. So that's amazing. Hey, if you like this episode or you liked any of the episodes, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts, or if your platform you're listening on has a rating and review thing there, please do that. It is incredibly helpful for podcasters to get those ratings and reviews. You can also share on your social medias. You can even tell friends and people you think that would enjoy the podcast about it and let them enjoy it. And please check out my website, www.bunnyhugspodcast.com, and you can find all things Bunny Hugs Podcast on there. You can buy me a coffee. You can listen to other episodes. There's links and social media and all types of stuff there, merch. Anyway, go check that out. On with the show. Without further ado, I give you Alex.
So, I grew up a little bit all over the place. Both my parents worked and traveled. Like, my dad was a software engineer, and so he was moved around a lot, and we actually ended up in South Africa for some time during my teenhood.
Is that your accent?
No, well, it's a bit of a mix of things because I've been all over the place. And my mom was French and my dad was Greek, and I grew up in Europe and in Africa. While we were living in South Africa, my mom was murdered, and then my dad died shortly after of cancer. And then I dealt with homelessness for about 5 years. And so I kind of bounced around a little bit, made some, it's like when you're like homeless and you're a woman or a female, it's a strange space to navigate. I had to make a lot of deals and kind of sacrifices to kind of survive, which led me to the US. I married a sailor, basically somebody I kind of met like for 3 days. But they offered me like stability and a home and going to school. And then I had a child with this person. My child lives with multiple disabilities. And so I tried to do my best. But having lost my parents young and taking care of a kid with all this trauma has been, I don't know, a daily challenge. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say easy.
I wish.
Okay.
I wish, yeah. So that's a little bit so I live with PTSD. I do a lot of work around talking about like lived experience around living with PTSD, but also I am a suicidologist. I work in suicide prevention, and I have devoted my life to wanting to help people live, even though I struggle myself to want to live. So yeah, it's kind of a weird melting pot of stuff.
Let's get into this a little bit deeper then.
Go for it, yeah.
So you grew up with worldly parents, you're traveling around.
Yeah.
What age did your mother die?
Well, I was 17, 18, around that age. You see, this is the weird thing about trauma. It impacts your brain, right? It puts my brain often feels like Swiss cheese. I can't pinpoint time very well. I don't remember things in order. Sometimes the characters change, and then somebody will be like, well, no, I was there, and I'm like, I don't remember you, I don't remember that. And that's I guess also the painful part of living with trauma. It's you always questioning your reality and how real it is, and so yeah, so even when I tell you stuff, like there's a part of me that's like, I'm not sure if I'm telling it to you the right way. I'm just telling you the way I remember it right now, which I don't know, like I don't know how trusting to be of that, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, I know, yeah, it does make sense. I don't think I have PTSD. I think I have more like acute PT, like a traumatic event, where it sounds like yours is more like...
No, mine's definitely PTSD, because I also grew up with my dad being quite... my dad really struggled with emotionally regulating. He's quite physical. He used a lot of like physical punishment with me. Both my parents had their own traumas. My mom was a runaway. So like even growing up, I mean, I wish I could say that my mom's death or murder was like kind of the epitome of like, oh, I had this one event that happened to me. But like, it's actually like a lot of what the trauma is like, growing up with like parents who are struggling to be like the best versions of themselves, and then having like their deaths be so dramatic and violent, and then being on my own. It just like it compounds everything, it's like I didn't get the closure I needed with them, or I didn't get like maybe the parents like I really needed or wanted, even though I really do love them and forgive them for like their mistakes, because they were doing the best they could. As a mom today, I really understand that, especially as a mom that lives with trauma and sees the impact on my child, how she holds that with me.
You're basically in the same position your parents were.
Yes, yeah. Yes, this like traumatized version of yourself trying to make choices, like make decisions, and with just so little to hold on to, of who you are. I tell people this all the time. I feel like such an alien on this planet. Like I look at people, like I tell my friends know this, because I'll literally have a moment where people will go like, what are you thinking about? Like I'll be looking at something, usually a person, doing something like eating their lunch, and they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, just wishing I was them, like just wishing I could have like eat a sandwich and not have these 15 monsters screaming in my head at once. Like that would be perfect. But I have no concept of what it's like to eat a sandwich and not have 15 monsters hitting. Like,
wait a minute. How do you know that person doesn't have 15 monsters in their head?
I don't. It's all an assumption. It's absolutely an assumption. But I think that's the curse, right? It's like you're constantly, because you're hypervigilant and you're questioning yourself, and you don't really know yourself other than this version of yourself. So you're always scanning around, looking at, going like what is it like? How are you loving that person? What's it like to hold hands and not to wonder, like, is this person going to leave me? Do they really love me? Do they know me? I don't know what that's like. I have no concept of that. Every version of me with every relationship in every way is tainted with like all these like voices. And so, no, I don't know. For all I know, everyone is thinking shit in their head. I'm kind of hoping they're not, because I'm trying to get on their side of the line. but so I'm really hoping there's a version of that.
It's like the grass is greener situation.
Please, I really hope there is a version of me that does not have 10 monsters. Maybe just one would be great,
Do you mind kind of explaining the circumstances of your mother's murder and how, like, what happened? If it's too much?
No. Yes,
okay.
No. I mean, I've said that, no. I mean, I lived through it. There's nothing worse than living through it. Telling it is not the worst version of it. So my family, when we were living in South Africa, like a lot of South Africans, we had a nanny, somebody who works in the home, right? Like somebody that kind of helps clean up and helps with the children and things like that. And she was lovely. I loved her. She was a very important person for me growing up. And she lived with us, and her children lived with us on occasion. She had a daughter and a son. The son was about my age. He was like 1 year older than me. And I've known him and since they were kids. My nanny came into my life when I was like 9. They would kind of stay with us intermittently while they also lived and went to school elsewhere. And so which is a very common family system in South Africa. As we grew older, I had interactions with those children. in different ways. My parents weren't South African, right? So they didn't grow up that way. I just said, my mom was a runaway and very much came from a very violent home. And so it was, my mom and my dad were very clear with me that, that they wanted us to, be very respectful and appropriate with folks, that we had to have boundaries, that racism was not going to be tolerated. Although I lived during the apartheid period, my parents were like, we didn't grow up this way. This is not in alignment with our culture and our beliefs and our values. So, we functioned very much in a very respectful space of respecting people's boundaries and where they live and their spaces and the hours that they worked versus, not bugging people when they're not working. Just because some people really abuse that system in South Africa. That if you live there, then you're working 24 hours a day, so.
Borderline slave.
Yes, exactly. And so my family made it very clear that was not going to be at all. They didn't care what I saw in other people's homes. This was my home. This was this were their rules, and they made it very clear. And so our nanny actually lived with us for pretty much my entire most of my childhood. So my last year of high school, my parents separated, and it was a very bad separation, very, very bad. It was terrible, actually. And my dad got diagnosed for the second time with cancer. He had cancer when I was 10. He had breast cancer, actually. He had a mastectomy and didn't really take care of it, and it came back and then got all in his lungs. So he had just been diagnosed with cancer. They got separated, and my mom was living alone in this townhouse. And my dad was really struggling, without my mom. And he had gotten a job in Australia. So he was like, okay, I'm going to go to Australia. I want to start over. I want a new beginning. It's very hard to function in this space with your mom. He's still very much, I think, in love with her, When it's a toxic relationship, or I don't know if it's love. I mean, it was very bound, And so he left South Africa for Australia. And my youngest sister, who's 5 years younger than me, was okay, we were worried about him being alone, sick, starting a new life in another continent. And South Africa is not safe. It was not a safe country then. It's not safe now, but it was definitely not then. We decided, she'll go live in Australia. She'll go and move with him. My sister was deeply saddened and depressed, being alone there. So I moved there too, eventually. I had asked my mom to move. I said, just come with us. Don't stay here alone. My mom and I had more of a friendship than a mother-daughter. It was a mother-daughter relationship, but it was very much, very inappropriately, also very friendship-like, And I had tried to convince her, I was like, this is not good that you're staying here on your own in South Africa in this house alone. But she was very stubborn. She was a survivor. She was nobody tells me what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I had survived so much in my life. Just, I'm going to do my own thing. And if you guys want to leave and start over somewhere else, that's your choice. You go for it. And I'll come visit in a few months. So I was I couldn't leave my sister. I was she was so little. I was no, I can't do that to her. I was very worried about her. And so I left. So not even it hadn't even been a month that I'd been gone, maybe. It was not long at all. Like I said, I can't really remember the timeline, but I had called my mom and she had not answered the phone. This is before text messages, cell phones, even email, really. And so I had called her. She had not answered. And then a couple of days later, or a day later, I was coming out of a friend's, because I was in a dorm space. I had just started college. It was my first month of college. I just came out of a friend's dorm room, and my dad was standing there, and my sister, because I was in a different city. I was on the Gold Coast, and they were in Melbourne, Australia. And I was standing in the hallway, and I'm like, oh, you guys are visiting. It's a surprise, And I just instantly knew, just from looking at my sister, she just looked pale and just, just a shell of a human, just kind of just sunken. And then my dad just looked at me, and I was like, hey, just kind of like, I can't even really remember the moment. Like, I can describe to you, like, the hallway, the carpets, like the doors and like who was there. But like that moment between him and it's like blurry, it's like, I can't tell you the exact words he said or how he moved his body, but he just basically, like, what I remember coming out of his mouth is like, you like something, maybe mom, maybe her, maybe like was murdered. And I just threw up. Like, the bathroom was right there. I just started like throwing up and just collapsed and just like dry heaving. And I don't really remember what's happening. I remember my sister there, like kind of like crying and just like, just I can feel her like around like here. And then we went into my room and my dad kind of explained to me that the son of my nanny and two other men waited for her in the garage on a Tuesday morning. And when she came out that morning to get into the car to drive off for work, they beat her so badly she was unrecognizable, and then took a hanger and strangled her to death. And she like died right there in the garage. And then they proceeded to go inside of the house, took her body in the house, hid her body. We had like this it's like a little room under the staircase, had thrown her body basically behind some boxes, and then had proceeded to rob us, like basically just go in and take what they wanted. And then took the car and her car. And when they took her car, because they had not driven a car before, an hour in on some like bad roads, had a car accident, and one of them died instantly. My nanny's son, who was kind of like the master planner of it all, he got pinned against the wheel and died very slowly, and from what I understand, it took hours for him to die because he just basically bled to death, pinned against the wheel. Because also, it's South Africa, this is African roads, like nobody found them for ages. And then the third guy got out of the wreckage, started running, and they caught him later, and he's basically the one who told the story. That's how I know all of this, of like what happened, how they died, and what, because he kind of got out, got picked up, and then the police found him, and he basically he's the last person, he's like this, the last person to be able to kind of tell us what happened.
Good God. What a waste of life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, everything is just quite terrible, like all of it, I think the only thing for me, when I hear stories of other people who've lost loved ones to like murder, because it's, murder is not like it's not like someone dying of cancer or even a car accident. Like, not to say that those deaths are not violent or painful to endure or grief, because obviously I lost my dad to cancer. Like, I'm not saying that that one death is less or more painful than another to another human being. We all experience grief and loss in our own way, but there is something very unique about losing someone to murder, and mostly it's because of how people interact with you. You know what I mean? Like, when you tell somebody you lost your father to cancer, they're like, oh, my aunt died of breast cancer. Like, there's a relatability. Like, there's a sense of like, oh, I'm in that club with you. Like, I get it. I understand that. But when you say murder, it's like, people are like, it's almost like a little bit like, not cringe, but there's horror involved. That you're like, oh, like there's something about that is, you don't want to touch that. You know what I mean? Like people die in car accidents. People die of disease. People should never die of the hand of another, and I mean, it's the same for suicide. People are always confused about suicides, right? Suicides and actually homicide are under the violent death category. The two deaths that kind of go together, because they're violence to oneself or to another that people just can't compute always, like, what is that, And so it's super lonely. It's a very lonely, like, survival experience, because people are either fascinated by you, by like, what happened? What does this mean? Like, why didn't your mom fight back? Like, did nobody hear her? Like, did you know this was coming? A little bit like a suicide. Did you know? How did you not know? Why did they do that? Like, there's all these question marks that you have no answers for. And also there's no relatability, right? People are like, damn, that sucks for you, And so it's such a lonely death. And then you're stuck with it. Like you're stuck with it. Like it's like branded you, because for whatever reason, somebody made the choice that day to destroy your life. Like, somebody woke up that day and was like, I'm going to kill somebody regardless of like what it means to the world or everyone connected, like to that ripple effect, right? It was just a choice that somebody made in a moment or in a day or planned it or whatever. And you're branded with that decision forever. Like there's no escaping it. No matter what I try to do, I can't escape that I can't escape it. Like it's something that defines my existence every single day that I wake up.
Yeah, I've done quite a few interviews of people who've lost loved ones to suicide, and they always say it's just a different kind of grief.
It's complicated. Yeah, it's complicated and it's layered, and you're so angry. Like you're so angry.
So how did you? Oh man, how were the next few weeks, few months? Because I mean, I can't.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't imagine.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. Like we had to, like that night, we had to plan how to get back to South Africa. My dad had cancer, right? So like he was like not well. Like he was a sick man at that point. He was not after my mom died, it was downhill, like really badly. Like, his health had just deteriorated so badly. And also the job that was promised to him in Australia fell through. And we were just like, that's what led to our housing instability and led to like the homelessness part. It's like, and it's more because also that's defined in many different ways, like from a public health version to what people will say is homeless versus not homeless, or like housing instability versus house. I don't give a fuck what other people say. If I was scared of where I was going to sleep that night, you can label it whatever the fuck you want. Like, but we had to like get back to South Africa with we had no money, we had nothing. And so, we made it back. I don't know who bought the tickets. I'm guessing someone bought our plane tickets. I'll be honest with you. I think somebody bought our plane tickets back, and somebody probably helped with the funeral too. That's my guess. My dad would never tell me that stuff, but I knew my dad didn't have money. So I'm filling in blanks here that probably some folks helped us. We went back to South Africa within 2 days. We were back there because, so Australia to South Africa is a long flight, especially when you're on the other end of it, like in Perth, Melbourne area. And we landed in South Africa. There was a police officer that welcomed us, kind of was like, hey, I don't know, debriefed maybe my dad. I had some of my high school friends there. We stayed with people because we couldn't go back to that house. It was a crime scene. You can't go in there, right? It's a crime scene, and not that we wanted to go in there. I actually never went back. I never saw the house again. The last time I saw it was when I packed to go to Australia. We never got to see our mom because we were told that actually my dad didn't even get to see my mom because she was so disfigured from what they did to her, that we were told that it would be so traumatizing to see her that way. They just said, please don't do it. You're not you have to remember how you last saw her, because this will destroy you. It'll warp your brain forever. And in fact, the person who had to identify her was a friend of hers, and he told us, he's like, I would rather live with a nightmare of what I saw than you guys. He's like, I'll never sleep again the same. But I can't imagine two children or you seeing her like that. It's not her. And I'm very grateful for that. But I didn't want to necessarily see her that way. Mm-hmm. But I also never got to see her. You never, every freaking culture, every place on this planet has a ritual to say goodbye to the dead, and it involves touching somebody. It involves saying your last goodbyes. It involves some sort of closure. But when somebody dies violently, you don't get to have that finish line. You don't get to stay with the body in a way that you're like, I see you leaving the body peacefully, or I see you leaving this body in a way that I can hold it, and move on, so that also got stolen from me, not just her life, but even her death, even like the ritual of death got stolen from us, because all I got to have is a box, like knowing that her body, her broken, mangled body was in a wooden box. That's what I got to, that's my closure. And then I got to carry her body into a car, and have that coffin on my shoulder. That's my ending. That's, which, okay, great. Like, I'm glad I got that too. But so much got stolen from us, so much got stolen from that event. I even wonder, if my mom hadn't died that way, would my dad have died? Would he have gotten so sick that he couldn't fight anything off, that it just ate him to death? I don't know what the ripple effect is of that event, but I know it was like an atomic bomb, that it dropped and everything got destroyed, and some things I will never get to see, again, there's nothing there. When we got there, we didn't get to see her body. We buried her. She wanted to be cremated, thank goodness, because to some degree I feel like at least her body didn't go into the ground that way. It got, I don't know, it got left, her energy burnt into the air. I feel like it just moved out to something that gives me some peace. And then we had to take care of the house. We were in South Africa for a couple of weeks, and then we had people, mostly friends, clearing out that house, getting rid of stuff and bringing us back things that maybe we needed or wanted, But I learned, and my sister and I learned over the years, that there were a lot of people who went in that house and took things. So people even that were friends of my mom or friends of ours, it was a bit of a free-for-all. They went and took things. And we found out later on from people like that, or even we saw people wearing some of her stuff. We were like, oh my God, that's my mom's coat, whatever, so again, this theft, when people are vulnerable, when people are at their worst, it brings vultures, and even people who were not necessarily vultures, it turns them into one. People you thought you could trust then become, they see an opportunity, people become opportunists at vulnerability. So many people were like, oh, I'm going to be like a mom to you. And I was like, where the fuck were you when I was starving? When I was sick? When I was alone? Where were you? They were nowhere, but they were wearing my mom's clothes or jewelry or things. I was like, so just another layer of grossness, another layer of betrayal.
Another reason to not trust people moving forward. Exactly.
Even though they knew my dad was sick. They knew that we had just had our worlds crushed. They knew we were going back to nothing, And then when we got back to Australia, we were broken. We were broken people, I had this little sister that was just shattered. I can't.
She was about 14 at the time?
11 or 12, yeah. She was so little. She was so young, And then my dad was just broken, like a broken human being. And then I had to go back and pretend, people were very nice to me, they were very kind to me. I also had nothing in common with now. It went from there's a before and an after, and then the person that came after me, I have nothing in common with you. It's I got dropped into a different planet. People my age were drinking and dating, and I was trying to survive.
Before your mom's murdered, did you feel like an alien then?
No, not as much. No. I had a weird upbringing, right? I had a weird, it was a difficult upbringing. I was at least relating to other humans, But after that, it was definitely, I was I don't have joy or happiness. I can't relate to any of this,
I am so sorry that happened. I couldn't imagine being that age. Your other parent, it sounds like your dad you weren't super close with, not like your mom.
Well, I was close to him, but it was dysfunctional. The relationships were always very dysfunctional, And we were more my dad's caregiver than he was our dad, right? With complex PTSD and family dynamics, actually, it's layered, right? Nothing is clear or clean, or everything is layered. And so my dad was a pretty aggressive human towards me, but he was obsessed with me. Like, he was very much enamored by me and like loved me very much and wanted the best for me. He just didn't know how to show love. He came from, again, his own dysfunction, and like my mom came from her very violent and dysfunctional space. And so there was, how can you heal properly when you're already not okay, and then you add more not okay things? You end up with a really strange situation.
Did you have empathy for your dad at the time?
Yes.
Like you knew this guy's damaged. He's doing the best he can.
No. I definitely had empathy for him. I felt so sad for him, like, because, when my mom left him, it shattered him. Like, I had to take care of him for like a year. Like, he was drinking and just acting recklessly.
Heartbroken.
Yeah, he was heartbroken, but and lost, and so I was like, again, like a caregiver to him. And then when he got sick, and moved to Australia, unfortunately my sister became the second caregiver to him, and he was doing the best he could, but he really, like, he would call me and he'd be like, I don't have money, like I can't pay for anything, so I kind of brokered a deal with my university that I would like. So I didn't really go to school. So a lot of people don't realize this. My first degree, I was enrolled in a school, but I worked 5 jobs. I cleaned homes. I did whatever job I could, and I would pay every week at whatever money I made to the school. And I did all of my stuff. Basically, I was like home instruction, like I would do all the exams on a Saturday or whatever. Like, like professors would make arrangements with me because they knew my mom had been murdered. They knew my dad was dying. And I kept telling them, like, I need to get a degree for my sister. Like, I need to finish school so I can get a life. Please don't let me lose this. And so the school of psychology was like 4 people. They were like, we will do this, but you can't talk about it. Like, don't go around telling people that you're giving $50 a week to the accountant. Don't tell them that you're just coming in on a Saturday to do a test. I don't know anyone I graduated with. I never met them. Barely. Because the most I saw them was maybe when we had big exams and we were all in one big room. I was in a room with them then. I couldn't tell you who was accounting and who was psychology in that room. I don't know. Because I just worked all the time to make ends meet. I slept in someone's garage on a mat, and I just worked, slept on that mat, and did whatever I could to study and get a degree. And I got it at the end. I got my degree, and that helped me get like a better job. And so then I could do it again and do it again. And that's literally like my philosophy. It's like, you work, you do what you need to do. There's no other choice. Get it done and move on. Like, that was like my how I functioned as a human. And so that's what happened. Like, my dad was like, I can't help you. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I was like, forget it. Like, let me figure this out. And so I made a deal with a guy. I cleaned his house. I slept in the garage of this place for like years, and just did any gross job I could do. I cleaned houses. I babysat. I even interviewed for being a stripper, but I was told I was too fat and a brunette, and I guess boobs have to come in a certain shape and hair color. So I just like didn't work out. I tried being a sex call operator. I didn't like the 24-hour like situation that it was. I was like, I have too many jobs. I can't be on the phone and trying to make you climax and clean a toilet at the same time. It was just not doable. I was like, I can't handle this. This is too much stress.
Are you on the toilet, lady?
I was like, yeah. I'm like, I can't do all these things at once. I was like, I'd rather listen to music and clean toilets than be like, yeah, that's great. Like,
oh my God.
Like, it was, like I did anything. And honestly, if they had said yes to me to being a stripper, I probably would have been like, let's do this today. Like, like, put me on stage. Like, let me work 12 hours. Let me make some money. Like, I would have done anything to survive. Like, I was ready to do anything. The one thing I did not do, and I think this is my saving grace, really, it's like it saved me, is I didn't sell drugs, because a lot of people try to get me to do that. Again, no one's watching over me. There's no support or safety. And so I did have people going like, you could make easy money doing this. And the thing is, like, I was like, if I get into this, there was like something about it I knew. I'm like, if I get into this, I'll never get out of it. I didn't do drugs because I had enough problems. I was like, I have so many problems. I don't need more problems. And also, I can't afford to live. I have no money to spend on other shit. So, logic, 1 + 1 = 2. I can't afford the numbing out for an hour. I need to work so that I can save my sister. So that was my only saving thing. Really, is
Would you say work was your addiction?
Work has been my addiction. Work has been my addiction for sure, because it's only this last 6 months, because I did a very intensive trauma treatment 6 months ago that helped me reshape a lot of where I'm at today. But for the last 38 years, I've been functioning on do. And in fact, a lot of my intimate relationships, all of my intimate relationships have failed because I believed that they could only love me for what I do, not who I am, because I'm a broken human being. How could you ever love somebody so fragmented, so broken, unless I'm giving you something you need and want? And I learned that from surviving. If I, right?
I didn't say anything. Oh, sorry, we had a glitch there, everybody. No, I mean,
yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, I feel that. I feel that.
Which is such a trauma response, right? So every relationship I've had has failed because I would get resentful and angry with them. But I also did not know how to love somebody. I didn't know how to be loved, right? So I'm a workaholic. I've always had multiple jobs at once. I've never worked one job because I'm always what if this happens? And then I'm going to be stuck like this. I don't want to sleep on a fucking yoga mat again ever in my life or put my child through that. So everything I do, every decision I've ever made is about survival. It's about how can I make the most of the situation, being the most strategic, using the most of time, people, and place to get the most out of it. And if I'm satisfying you, right? Because life to me has felt very transactional. If I am satisfying you in some way, then you are going to protect me. You're going to keep me safe and you're going to keep me around. And we're going to be good. That's the deal. And so that's how I functioned for a long time. 6 months ago, I had my last breakup, and I decided I'm never living like this again. I can't do this anymore. I can't let my mom's death, I can't let years of abuse, I can't let homeless instability or housing instability or homelessness, whatever people want to call it, because people will say, well, you had a roof over your head, so you weren't really homeless. I'm like, all I needed was that guy to have one bad day with me, or me not want to have sex with him, and he'd be like, get out the house, everything that's brought me to that point. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way anymore. And so
it's not sustainable. Yeah, something had to give.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. My body was breaking down, and my daughter was fed up of it. She was like, I'm tired. I'm tired of growing up with this, please, you got to make different choices, Yeah.
What was the time frame between your mom's death and your dad's death?
Oh, I don't know, 2 years, something like that.
We should really work on a screenplay.
Oh my God, who wants to see that shit? Oh God, who wants to see that?
Depends who's in it.
Okay. As long
anyway.
as she's good looking. Yeah. Put a pretty girl in it, yeah.
Oh no, we'll change the character to a man.
Oh no, we're not changing the character to a man. Because only women could survive this shit.
Well, you kind of you dropped a little hint there that you when you were homeless, you were living in the garage, and then you said, all it took was one night where you wouldn't have sex with him. So that was kind of that deal?
No, I wasn't, no. I wasn't in a situation like that, thank goodness. He was not asking me for that. But the problem is that a lot of I was with somebody at the time where I was with somebody because they were giving me food for an exchange. Just to be very honest, a lot of my relationships at that point became, not to say that this is so sad, because I think that the people really did care about me and love me. I don't feel like I was invested back in the same way, mostly because I couldn't be. I didn't feel it. I was numb. Like, I didn't feel anything. And so, as long as I had a situation where the person made me feel safe and could sustain some level of safety for me, I was prepared to be like whatever they needed me to be in the moment.
So it was more transactional for you than it was them in a way.
Yes, I would say so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, yeah, because then I would always be the one walking away too. Like, I'd be like, okay, this transaction is like worked its way into a place where I just like really don't want to do it anymore. And then I would leave, and like people would be quite confused about it. Like, what happened,
I see. Okay.
But I just like, I couldn't feel stuff. I just didn't, I was numb. Like, the guy that I lived with, he was very nice. Like, he had a girlfriend, so he was never inappropriate. I mean, I guess he could have been, but he was never. I just cleaned the house for him. I just cleaned his house, and he's pretty happy having like a mom kind of like take care of the house, clean his dishes and stuff. And he didn't really bug me too much, but I did clean the house of this one guy who was not necessarily on the up and up legally, doing stuff from his home. And he offered me that. He was like, for exchange, you'll get, instead of living in a garage, I'll give you a bedroom. You'll have food, and we'll have this like pseudo relationship, where you'll have all that you need, and all I want is a clean house and a human, And I was like, that's not what I want. So thanks. So, which was so crappy, because he paid so well because he was a bookie. And so he was always giving me really good tips. So that was a little bit of a sad thing to walk away from.
When you say tips, like you were cleaning his house.
Yes, I was cleaning his house.
Okay.
I was doing his laundry and like, making him like food and stuff like that. And he would just like be very good at giving. Like, if he had a good day where he won a lot of money or took a lot of money from people, he'd be like, here's a little extra for you today. And then, but eventually he wanted more. And I was like, no, I'm good. Again, like, there was always like my mom's voice.
Did you walk away from that job forever then, or did you just keep cleaning his house?
Forever. Yeah, no, because I actually got scared. Like, after that, I was like, oh, he's like looking at me in a way that, did not feel, I was like, oh, you've changed the way you look at me, because now you want to look at me as a live-in something. And then I just was like, no. My mom was a survivor who also dealt with housing instability. I think something's rubbed off on me. Like, my mom would always be like, careful, people always want something from you. Like, or watch out for this, or she'd tell me stories of where people took advantage of her. And things would come up and I'd be like, oh, I know this. Like, I know, this is familiar. Like, so she was always like kind of in the back of my head, like, so I think I got out of a lot of like sticky or situations where I think a lot of people could have, their lives would have been in danger, because I think I grew up with survivors of trauma, and they were like, the world is unsafe. Like my dad literally told me, everyone is going to be out to sexually assault you. You have to remember that people, if they want something, they'll do terrible things to get it, And so I grew up with these like recordings in my head. And so whenever I met people, I mean, there's obviously a very big, the big price to pay growing up like that, right? Or like, and living that way. You don't trust people. You are very quick to judge people. You don't ever let people like love you fully, because there's always a part of you that's like, what's in it for you?
You can't enjoy a sandwich.
You can't even enjoy a fucking sandwich. Like, just a sandwich. I just want a sandwich. Yeah. Without these like voices, like, no.
You should go to Subway and say, I'll have a whatever sandwich. Hold the voices.
Hold all the voices, because this busload of people in my head is like, they're driving me crazy. Yeah.
So was there any other points while you were unhoused that you felt in danger? Or did you kind of constantly just feel like there's danger at any moment and you're just on pins and needles and eggshells all the time?
Well, no, I had like a lot of people around me that like I think deeply cared about me, although I'm not friends with any of them today, which I think has to do a lot with because I was unavailable and did not stay in contact and things like that. But I think there were people at the time, even though I can't tell you exactly how, that looked out for me and cared for me. The only person I was always very afraid of is myself, because during that time and even after that, but there was a period of that time where I just thought of killing myself like every day, like every single day. In fact, when I do some trainings around suicide prevention and around protective factors, I tell the story of like when I was babysitting this one family's children. They were like the sweetest like little family. They had like twins and this little boy who was just like love, like just pure love. So I used to go and clean the house while the mom took them to the beach. Like she just needed somebody just to like make her life a little bit easier with like 3 kids under the age of 4, 5, whatever they were. And, I didn't eat for like days sometimes. Like getting food was very hard. In fact, my teeth were all loose, and like I had like a lot of, because they were rotting. Like I had a lot of health issues because I just couldn't go to a dentist. I couldn't go to a doctor. I would buy, back then I would go to like, it's like a discount like store, like Salvation Army kind of thing, but like where they have food. So you can buy like for like a can, you can buy it for like a penny or whatever. But I would buy these like popcorn kernels in bulk for like $2 and then oil. And I ate popcorn every day. That's all I ate for years, because it would just like, it fills you up, popcorn fills you up. So I wouldn't feel hungry, but it messed my teeth. And in fact, I can't take the smell of popcorn today. Like I never go to the movies because I can't sit in the movies and smell popcorn. It makes me sick to my stomach. And I had ulcers all in my mouth. Like it was horrible. Like I was really unhealthy and sick. All I craved was fruit. Like even the smell of a tomato was like, oh my God, I just want to eat a piece of fruit, because fruit's so expensive. And so she would have like these grapes, like these green grapes in a bowl in the fridge. And I would like pick at them, I'd pick like 2 or 3. And one day I picked too many. I realized after it, I'm like, oh my God, I've like eaten more than half of this bowl of grapes, and I left feeling like she's going to fire me. Like she's going to like, and they were so kind to me. They were so good to me. And I was like, I just ruined it. Like I had been eating their food and they're going to find out and they're going to find me. And then the next time I had to go, I was walking and I was like getting ready to be like, it wasn't me, it was the children. And I was getting ready for like the fight in my head, because I was waiting to open the door and be like, what is this? Like this, like a little stick with no grapes. Like, why did you do this? Because remember, I was still young. I was still like a kid, like with just trauma. So in my head, there was going to be police officers with their grape for evidence, the stick of, and I was like ready to fight. I was like, it wasn't me. It was that stupid little kid that ate all your grapes. I was like ready, and I walked and swung the door open like, yes, take me. I'm ready, and they weren't there. They were like gone. And on the kitchen table, there was a bowl of fruit, and it just like with a little note, like, take what you want, eat what you want, like eat, I remember when I was angry and walking there, I was like, it's fine. I'll just die. Like, I don't even need to live like this, like who lives this way, And I walked home that day. I was like, it's going to be okay. Something about getting that gift, I was like, I think it's going to be okay. Like, I think it's going to be okay. Like, life is going to be okay. Like, I'm going to get a house. I'm going to get fruit one day. Like, I'm like little things, like little moves, like they just kind of stayed with me. And I was like, I'm going to own grapes one day. Like, I was like, I'm just like, pitter-patting back to my little cave. I'm like, I'm going to own grapes one day. It's going to be okay. I'm just going to get through this. I got to get a degree and then I can own grapes. It's so crazy, but it did keep me alive. Like it kept me alive another day. Yeah.
Did they know your situation?
I can't remember. I mean, no, I didn't tell people like about my mom. If people asked, I'd say my mom died, but honestly at the time I couldn't even get the words out. I think culturally, especially like in Australia and some cultures, they know enough if you say your parent died. Nobody's going like, how? What happened? They're just like, I'm so sorry, So I never really got questioned about it. Yeah.
Where was your sister during this?
She was with my dad.
Oh, but once your dad passed.
So like the year before my dad died, my dad got married to a friend of his I think he cared very deeply for. He was dating this woman that they married to help him get some health insurance, to get him like some care, because he had like nothing. And she like basically adopted my sister. So my sister got to kind of taken in by this wonderful person who also took care of my dad and loved my dad absolutely dearly. Like there was a lot of love between the two of them. So my sister got absorbed into another family. And in fact, even to this day, she's like, she has this unit, but I was already too old and distant and doing my own thing that I'm kind of my own human. Like my family, I mean, I know that family like cares about me. If something happened to me, they would be sad that, there's a lot of love for me. I believe there's a lot of love for me, but it's definitely a very different relationship with my sister and I have with that family. My sister very much was absorbed in to this new family that loves her and took care of her. And I just kept going. I just kept doing my own thing. Yeah, so that's what happened. So my sister ended up finishing high school with her and being taken care of by her.
Did that kind of help your frame of mind a little bit? It was like, okay, well, at least she's being taken care of. Now I just have to kind of take care of myself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, that's a hard question because I think there was a part of me that thought she would live in the garage with me. Like there's a part of me that was like, I want my little sister, to myself. Like it's like, it's the two of us against the world. Like, so there was definitely a part of me when I would be working and stuff like that. I'd be like, when she comes to live with me, I'm going to, take her to high school. Like I'm going to like there was like, I had like fantasies about it, like we were going to live together. In fact, I would talk to her about it. But the reality is like, I couldn't take care of her. That would not have been a way to live. I was barely eating, like what was I going to do with a kid? So
that whole bowl of grapes would have been gone.
I know, exactly. But there's always a part of me that feels sad because I have not lived with my sister since she was a child. I missed a lot of birthdays. There's so much that I didn't get to witness or see or have. Again, right, like stolen moments, like that ripple effect of trauma. It's like, so you killed my mom and you took my relationship with my sister. You killed my mom, you took away my dad. You killed my mom, you took away my housing. It's like a ripple effect, right? Like of like one traumatic event it's like you throw a glass ball down the floor and it just scatters everywhere. And there's you can't even begin to see where each piece fits or how you could put it back together, and you can't, So I feel like a lot of what I could have been as a sister was taken away from me. And that hurts like a lot because I'm very close to my sister, even to this day. She's like my soulmate. There's no other human on this planet that can understand who I am the way she can, because we have been through this experience together that is like unique. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Have you ever forgiven, maybe not face to face or anything, the third person that was involved, or even the dead ones?
Well,
or do you still hold anger and resentment?
I don't know, forgiveness. No, I don't hold anger. There's definitely a level of acceptance. Like I'm not angry. I'm sad. Like I'm sad, and I'll always be sad. I don't think I'll ever not be sad. I'm very sad because my nanny lost her son that day. Right, and I loved her. She lost her child.
Did you ever talk to her again?
No, she didn't want to see us. She couldn't. She didn't. She was like so.
Shame.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. She just asked people to tell us that she loved us and that she was very sorry. But I also heard that she fell apart.
I can imagine. There's another piece of that broken glass.
Exactly, like another ripple effect of like a life like shattered. Right. I always think about her. I'm sure she's passed by now because she was already a much older woman then. I always think about like what happened to her. He had a son. Like he had a son as a teenager. 16, he had a baby. And like I think about that kid. I think about that little boy, like who's now a man, I don't know, who is he? Like what happened to him? So I'm not angry because it's more sad than angry. It's so sad. All of the lives that were impacted. There's so many things that I don't know that happened that, from it, Mm-hmm. So I'm very sad. The guy that got away, I mean, he went to prison and whatever, but there was a time I used to fantasize about killing him all day long. All day. I mean, like it got me through days. And yeah. I wanted to do it in a way where I never get caught. So I was thinking about cyanide and chocolate bars that I was going to send him to the prison. Like crazy shit like that. Like a teenager. I'm like, I'm going to take a syringe with cyanide. I'm going to put it into a Mars bar. I'm going to send it to his prison. And he's going to eat the like, how quickly does cyanide dissolve in the body that they won't know it was the chocolate bar? Like, I was having crazy ass fantasies about destroying him. I'm like, but I want him to die slowly, so I don't want the cyanide to kill him too quickly. I want him to be sick for a while. So I'll send him 10 Mars bars that slowly kill him. I was so obsessed with him suffering but dying, in some way.
Right.
But that passed. After a while, I was like, who cares about him? It took up so much energy and space in my head. I was like, who cares? I don't know what happened to him. I never looked it up. I don't even remember his name. To be honest with you, I don't even remember it, because after a while, it's like it dissipated. His value in my head dissipated into like nothingness,
It's like, it's kind of taking your power back in a way.
Yeah, he stopped mattering. And I think also, I know this is going to sound kind of like maybe skewed to some people, but I know there's a lot of people who lose somebody to murder and they never get justice. They never know who was the person that took their family member away. Not only do I know who did it, but they died. A lot of people go like, oh my gosh, you could not get a better karmic outcome. Literally in your mom's car, your mom killed them. In your mom's car, they died. They didn't even live an hour to see the outcome of what they did. They literally got off the road and died instantly. And I know he was the mastermind because he had keys, he had like access, like he knew my mom's routine. He planned it. So not this other kid, because they were kids. He didn't plan it. He was just a friend that was there describing what happened, And I think about the great scheme of things is like, I at least got justice. Whatever you want to call karmic, universal, I don't know if my mom got in the way somehow. So to some degree, I can have acceptance and I can just have my grief. I don't have the anger that I feel a lot of people have, and I understand it because I get to go to bed at night and go like, I don't have to deal with them. They're gone. They died. Those monsters are not living out their life, doing whatever they want, enjoying their lives, Those
are 3 monsters that aren't in your head.
Yeah, but unfortunately their echoes are pretty intense.
How did you go from being homeless to going to school and getting more schooling and living in a house?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just like jumping from one relationship to the next, really. Like it's jumping from one relationship to the next so I could have some level of stability. And then eventually I met my daughter's father, who was able to really give me a little bit of a foundation to kind of get into school, right? So like once I had that relationship, I was able to get into a higher level of schooling. I was able to get like a student loan. I got a degree. I could get a job that actually paid something, I went from cleaning toilets, from a barista to like working in a restaurant to like babysitting to like doing all these jobs while I studied to get degrees. To my very first like real job in my degree was working as a part-time counselor at a substance use center. So I would come in and do groups, like I'd never done anything like that. But I was studying psychology and they gave me this like little job. It was like 2 hours a week. I eventually within 3 years was running it. I became the director of it and was running it because again, I'm like, I do. And I can read a little bit quickly what you need and want from me. I can figure out pretty fast, what kind of person are you? What are your triggers? How can I stay under that but soothe you enough that you see my value and I do what you need? I'll give you what you want, but I need to feel safe. And if you don't do that, there's no transaction, the deal's off, right? So as soon as I didn't feel safe with someone, I'm like, done, get away from me. As soon as you betrayed me, you lied to me, you did something that I was like, don't like that, we're done. The deal's off, And so I can give you stuff, I can read you, I can see what you want. But if you betray me in any capacity, you're dead to me. It's like a switch just turns off, But I did that with like work and everything. So I just worked. But if like people try to manipulate me, twist me, like anything, when I'm like, hey, I'm giving you everything you want. I've like done my job at mind reading you, and you're trying to hurt me. I'm done. I'm out of here.
When all that was happening, you were still in Australia?
No, by that time I was in the US. Yeah. Actually, after my dad died, I got kicked out of Australia because Australia, like my visa was attached to my dad. So we got kicked out and we had no money. I lived in Singapore for a little while because that was the closest place that they could kick me out to. So I lived actually, I was also homeless in Singapore. Some woman took me into her home and took care of me for like a while until I could get out of Singapore. Then Singapore kicked me out and I got to England, to the UK, where I had a family member take care of me. Then they kicked me out because they were like, this is too much. And that's when I had met my daughter's father in Australia, and we were like pen pals. And when I got kicked out in the UK, he's like, do you want to come to the US and we can just see what happens? And I was like, deal, let's do it.
And you tried to make it work with him. Did you get married or no?
Yeah, we did. I had to. I'm not an American citizen.
Right. Okay. You lived happily ever after?
No, we didn't. No, in fact, shortly after I gave birth, it was a very tumultuous relationship because a contract was made that neither party was fully understanding what the contract was.
Everyone signed and no one knew they signed it.
Yeah, I got pregnant. Like, it's kind of crazy. I had an IUD and we used a condom, and I got pregnant with twins, and I lost one and gave birth to my daughter.
What? You should start buying lottery tickets.
And that's what my OBGYN said, actually. Funnily enough, she's like, I don't know if you're the unluckiest person I've ever met or the luckiest person I've ever met. I'm like, and I just burst into tears, and I was like, the unluckiest. And she was like, and then I told her what happened to me. And she's like, oh yeah, you really are unlucky. Like, this is like terrible.
You'd buy a lottery ticket and end up owing $10 million.
Probably, yes.
Sorry.
Which is why I don't gamble at all. Yeah.
Right, that's okay. That's just as well.
Yeah.
Please. Tell me about being a single mother to a child with disabilities.
Yeah, it's like my daughter keeps me like from killing myself. So my daughter's my antidote to like not wanting to die. Like my daughter is the strongest human being I know. Like, she was born with all these physical issues and she just perseveres. She just keeps going no matter what. Like, she's like an A student. She just like has she's clear-minded. She sees everything for what it is. She's like wise beyond her years. Like, I get so much out of it. In fact, sometimes I feel like my mom, like where I was my mom's like guardian a little bit, and be like, now my daughter's become mine, which is why I went into that treatment, because I was like, I can't do this to her. Like, I can't. She's already a young adult. I can't. I have to break the cycle sometime, and so she's just like the most amazing human. Like, there's no one else I've ever met like her that can just wake up in the morning and be like, I guess I'm going to do this again with all this, whatever is going on in my body, because she lives with chronic pain and mental health issues from the chronic pain. It's so hard on her. She's got also a very rare condition called Waters that like people don't know about. It's so rare. It's under researched, no treatment for it. And so just her perseverance is just insane. Like, so I can't complain. Like I literally have to get up in the morning and just be like, get your shit together and do it, because she does it every single day. And I've had a series of partners, and so different people had played different roles in her life, and so I don't feel like it's fair to say that I've been single-handedly parenting her. It's definitely been on me to hold that emotional weight of like what she lives with, and that's been hard. Sometimes it's hard sometimes when you have two people living in the house that both want to kill themselves. It's hard. It's like you gotta maneuver around that. So it's been complicated, but we both are very dedicated to recovery and treatment and being very mindful of each other and our well-being. And so she's taught me a lot that she shouldn't have had to. But I also came into parenting with nothing. I didn't have a mom like at my shoulder telling me like, this is how you do this. It was all guesswork. It's taking pieces from different people, right? It's like, like also going to school and studying psychology and developmental psych, which was my favorite actual course. Like, I always tell my daughter, like, I was doing developmental psych the first year of her life, because I went to school and worked while she was a baby. And so like I would do the chapter and watch her and be like, huh.
Your own case study.
Yes. I'd be like, oh, I know what this is. This is this thing. So I became like a little bit attuned to like that, and being okay to learn. I watch parents not say sorry to their kids. I'm very comfortable going to my kid and go like, I'm really sorry. I messed up. Help me understand what would work for you, because I'm trying to figure it out. So being very open to like, I'm not going to get this perfect. I'm not actually built for this very well. Like I need to learn from her and I need to be able to take feedback. When she's like, your drama is sucking the life out of me, sort it out. Thank you for your feedback. I'm going to go now sort it out. Thank you for that. I needed a check-in, and I'm going to go now do 40 days of intensive therapy on all my traumas so that I can come back a little bit more together.
I was curious about this intense trauma thing that
Yes.
Intense treatment that you went to.
Yeah. No, I've done therapy on and off throughout my life, obviously, because I believe in it. But I decided after the breakup that I was like, no, I need to do some deep work. Like I've been doing this all wrong, and allowing myself to be loved for what I can do for another person, because my ex did a lot of damage on the way out, and I was like, no, I have to make better choices with people. And so I decided to go into an intensive attachment therapy program. So I learned my attachment style, and I learned what triggers and what happens in relationships and my dynamics. And I got to learn a lot about my parents and how they impacted me, because for a very long time I was like, I've lived longer without them than with them. What kind of impact could they have had in me? And then I realized that all of my stuff was in the first few years of my life, got like embedded into me. And I was, like literally playing out my mom. Like in every relationship, I was my mom, like cold and distant, like survival mode, like because she was a runaway, like I was doing everything she did, like I didn't like something, I was out, so there was this, so I started to like really get a sense of my parents. And one of the things, actually, I told my ex at some point when we were having a discussion, we're not friendly or anything like that, but there was a moment I was like, I'm actually glad we had the terrible breakup we did, because it forced me to go into treatment. And the gift I got out of that is I actually love my parents today. I love them and accept them in a way I never did before, because now I see every part of them in me and what they gave me and what they tried to do for me, and that they actually really did love me the best way they could. And I'm actually a good person because of them. I'm a caring, loving person. It's just hard for me because I have so much battles to kind of maneuver through, but they also gave me so much survival, because I'm alive today because of them. They also taught me how to survive. I could have died a million ways to this point. There was so much opportunity for me to either die by my own hands or put myself in a situation that would kill me. But I didn't, because of every survival little lesson that they put, weaved into the fabric of who I am. And it's making me a better mom, and it'll make me a better partner for the next person, because today when I meet somebody and I start to feel those little fires go up, or those little voices like they're like, oh, they're going to hurt you, get out. I can go like, no, we're not playing that game anymore. I don't want, no, put that fire out. I have an extinguisher now. I can go like, no, you're not smelling smoke. You want to smell smoke because you don't like this feeling. Hold the feeling, so I have a sense of who I am now, a better version of myself. So I'm so grateful for that. So having that opportunity, but it was so painful. My daughter told me, watching me go through that trauma treatment was the most painful thing she's ever seen me. She's like, with everything you've been through, she's like, it was like a dark night of the soul. She's like, I can't, because I crumbled. I was just nothingness on the ground, because all of my trauma came back, things that I had not told people. There's some traumatic events that I had never shared with another human being except for the person who injured me. It was all stuck there. And now it was all out. There's no more secrets. Everybody knows everything, I know it's the end and I should be telling you, but I was sexually abused when I was 9. I had never told another soul about that except for my mom. And my mom's answer, when I was 9 and I went to my mom and I told her what happened, she's like, forget it and never say another word of it again. And I didn't. I never did until last year. And, so everything got put down in front of me, right? And I was like, I kind of looked at all this like stuff, and so that's what I mean by monsters. I was like, who are all these people? Like, what's this? Because I thought I was like living my best self, like doing my thing, because I was doing everything for everybody. I was working hard. I was taking care of people. I was being a good person. And I wanted to die all the time. And I couldn't like connect with people, and all of it came clear, And so today I still live with all of that, but I know what I'm looking at. Like, I know the image that's in front of me and what I have to maneuver through, Like, I know I am swimming with sharks. I know how to survive them. I just can't pretend that they're not around anymore. I have to like be fully aware of like the waters I swim in and what space I'm taking in that.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for sharing your story. I don't think Alex has done any podcasts before, so that was really great that she'd come on and do that. And it's really great that she's working with other people. And I want to say thank you so much to Tori Shack. He's a former guest of the podcast, and he suggested I speak with Alex. So thank you kindly, sir. And thank you, Carey, for all the work you've been doing. It's very much appreciated. Thank you, everyone that's been leaving ratings and reviews. Thank you for listening. And until next time, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye. One thing I've learned through my experience with mental health and addictions is you never know what you need to hear until you hear it. Make sure to rate and review on Apple and to tell as many people as you can about the podcast so others can hear something they need to hear from one of my guests. After all, this is a free mental health service, which is a rare thing, so why not share with as many people as you can?